build it. He will.
It's the Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Cowk.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Cowk with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
Good Thursday morning out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports, right here on 98.1 FM, The Sports Animal. Glad to have you along for the next hour. We are T-minus, I'm going to say 2 hours and 3 minutes. According to the clock on my computer here in front of me, 2 hours and 3 minutes before we get going with March Madness. I realize there were some play-in games, but that doesn't really count. It all starts today, 10 after 11, I believe. It's the first scheduled tip time for the games. It's just two of the better days on the sporting calendar. Actually, 11:15. So T-minus 2 hours and 7 minutes before we see Michigan State and Mississippi State hit the floor to begin what is the 3-week journey to the national champion in basketball. So we'll talk about that. Have you finished off your brackets? Are you still making tweaks? Who's in your Final Four? Who do you got cutting the nets down in Phoenix in a couple of weeks? Is there anything that would actually surprise you? If X happened, you would actually be surprised, or has parity ruled the day to where there's really nothing that is shocking anymore? I mean, we've already seen a couple of ones go down to 16, so it's not like that would be the first time that ever happened anymore. Which number one seed goes out first? And does it happen this weekend? You know, defending champs have struggled. There hasn't been a defending champ make the Final Four since the 2007 Florida Gators, who, by the way, are the last to go back-to-back. That's what UConn's trying to do. But it hasn't been easy. A lot of the teams don't even make it out of this first weekend. So are we going to see who's the first one seed to go out, and will it happen before the Sweet 16? There's a pretty decent streak of that happening as well, where at least one number one has not made the Sweet 16, I think dating back to 2018 or 19, 17, something like that. So we can talk tournament as we near the start of the tournament. Don't forget, you've still got right now 2 hours and 5 minutes to get your entry in to the Western Oklahoma Realty Bracket Challenge. I sent out another Facebook post today with the link to the group on that ESPN website. So the Skinny on Sports Facebook page, just click that link and it'll take you right to the group. Great prizes. $500 to win, $200 for second, $100 for third. So we'll talk tournament. Have you seen the new invention in the fast food marketplace? One of the most popular, quite frankly, maybe the most well-run business in the world is testing out a new product that is completely off the radar of what you would think when you think of this place. Chick-fil-A testing a pizza. Seems wild for that to kind of go that way, but what else could be good? What else could be good? Then also the Thunder win again last night. Playoff picture's beginning to take shape, but I still don't think you'll know, at least for the Thunder, who the first-round opponent is going to be until the play-in games because of where they sit atop the Western Conference standings. When you look at the play-in teams, what if I told you before the season that two of Phoenix Dallas, the Lakers, and the Warriors. 2 of those wouldn't even make it to the playoffs. Crazy. What would be a perfect route? What if the Thunder, what would be the perfect group of teams and matchups for Oklahoma City to make a run to the finals? And then we're going to hear about Chet and Wemby forever. It's just going to be a thing. Last night, Holmgren goes 35-14. Wemby's had huge games, obviously. A freak of nature. Is it possible, though, that Chet Wemby turns out maybe like Russell and Chamberlain, not to the extent that got there? And if you're a Thunder fan, I think you really hope that that's the case. 225-9698 is the phone or the text line. That is 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. We can talk about any of those things or whatever else might be on your mind. Feel free to chime right in. Send in your final 4 picks, 225-9698. If you're going to be outside the listening area, there are a couple of ways to stay in touch with the show. You can log on to kadsam.com or download the app. Paragon app is free. It's got everything. It's got everything we do. Radio, Penny News, brand new edition of that Penny News hit the website. It hits the website each Wednesday at midnight, or actually Tuesday at midnight. And, of course, the print copy of the Penny News out everywhere. So go pick up a free copy of that Penny News. Big Elk and Paragon TV when the high school, excuse me, high school basketball, high school football, all those are rolling. You can check that out through the app on Paragon TV. And, of course, the Skinny on Sports podcast, which I recorded again today. That's 4 for 4. Appreciate Sam's help once again, though, texting in just to make sure that I had that ready to roll. But sure enough, Skinny on Sports podcast, you can find it anywhere. kadsam.com, it's there. Excuse me. It's also wherever else you can find any podcast. Got some early comments on the text line. Who's the most likely number 1 seed? Who's the first number 1 seed to lose? Got North Carolina as a vote. And the matchup with Michigan State in round 2 is pretty interesting if that were to occur. It's an amazingly tough second-round game for a 1 seed to have to think about facing Izzo and the Spartans. All right, so last night, the Oklahoma City Thunder win again, 119-107 over the Utah Jazz. Utah's such an interesting team. It feels like they really don't know what they want to do and how to get better. You know, there was times early in the season where it looked like maybe Lauri Markkanen was available, and then all of a sudden the Jazz go on a pretty good run, which just happened to coincide with his health. You know, when he's played, they've been pretty good. When he hasn't, they haven't. And last night was certainly one of those games where, I mean, you see Kessler can do some things, especially defensively. Colin Sexton goes for 25 on a 12 of 19 shooting night off the bench. They've got guys, and they just kind of a hodgepodge of guys right now, though, and especially without Markkanen in the lineup. On the Thunder side, Chet Holmgren was awesome. 12 of 18, 35 points, 14 rebounds, blocked 3 shots. SGA with 31 again. That's kind of what he does, right? But Oklahoma City improves to 48-20. They sit atop the Western Conference standings with 14 games left. Thunder's schedule, though, is about to – it's been kind of one of the easier ones here over the past, little stretch. That's about to change. As they're I think I'd seen one metric that the last 15 – or after last night, the last 14, they go from one of the easier schedules to maybe the toughest left in the league. And I think, these road trips, three-game road trips starting tomorrow night. They go to Toronto, then Milwaukee, then New Orleans. Back home for 2 that could be tougher than you realize. Houston and Phoenix. And then the tale of the tape, I think, will be told on that 5-game Eastern Conference road swing. Knicks, Sixers, Celtics, Pacers, and then finishing up with the Hornets, and then back home for 4 in a row against teams that may or may not be battling for different things. So, it's still an incredibly tough road with this remaining schedule to see Oklahoma City actually end up as the number 1 seed. It's possible. I mean, heck, feels like almost anything's possible with this young group of guys that have gelled so well. I mean, just being able to watch them a little bit last night, it's weird to watch. I think we got so used to seeing the Thunder, especially those Westbrook and Durant teams, and how ISO dominated that the play was, and it's kind of strange to see the Thunder really kind of look like what we saw from Golden State with the way the ball moves. Different guys. I mean, it's just like it seems like every time down the floor, it's either a drive into the lane or somebody is wide open taking a shot. It's amazing to watch the ball movement, and they've really kind of transformed their identity offensively from what they were to what they are now. And it's a fun brand of basketball to watch. Guys, you can tell. You can just watch them play. And it seems like those guys are just having so much fun playing the game of basketball together. And, you hope that continues for years and years and years. You never know. Young guys might, there's all kinds of different things tied up into that with being able to achieve the individual success that it takes to start triggering those different incentives that get you to the supermax or what have you. Being on the team with so many good players, but at the same time, it sure is fun to watch, at least right now, where it does feel like that college atmosphere, not only in the Paycom Center, but also with the team, and how much fun they have playing basketball together. It's a blast to watch. You just hope it continues for a long time. The cynic in me always says, well, these guys eventually want to go do their own thing or have their own team. Hopefully that's not the case, and I think part of the Thunder's philosophy and the ability to create the culture has to do with kind of doing that background, doing that research of wanting to find guys that not only fit together, but also, let's be honest, the Oklahoma City is, that's one of the smallest, if not the smallest market in the league, and having to not only find guys that fit basketball-wise, but also that fit into the culture and into the city. It all kind of goes hand in hand with the philosophy, but so far, so good. It's amazing how short a time ago the dog days were with the rebuild or the reimagining or whatever they want to call it. As this team was getting built, those days seem forever ago, and it was really just 2 seasons. So, man, they're a lot of fun to watch. What would be the perfect route for Oklahoma City as far as matchups go to the finals? When you look at the standings right now, the 6 teams that would be in the playoffs: OKC 1, Denver 2, the Wolves 3, Timberwolves 3, Clippers 4, Pelicans 5, and then the Kings would be 6. That means Dallas, Phoenix, LA, and Golden State would be the play-in game. And then obviously the way that works, you fill out the rest of the bracket. Very first text, avoid the Lakers. I think I think there's some merit to that, not only because LA won 3 of the 4 in the regular season. It's just so matchup dependent. And, listening in the afternoon yesterday, Jim harping about, Giddey and his deficiencies, I think that has a little bit of merit when you think about the way the game is played in the postseason. Guys search out matchups, coaches search out matchups, and the Lakers would appear to kind of have what the Thunder don't. LeBron's experience, LeBron's size, obviously Anthony Davis' size. And it seems like, at least this year, for some reason, Anthony Davis, when he sees that Thunder uniform, he just lights up, and he has lit the Thunder up. So I would not disagree with the Lakers being one of the matchups you don't want to see. I think anytime, if you can avoid Steph Curry, you would like to avoid Steph Curry. So it almost feels like the better path for Oklahoma City would be to, at least to maybe get to the conference finals, would come from being the 2 seed. Instead of the Clippers in the possibility of a second round, you'd see the Timberwolves. Once again, matchup problems, but I don't think they're quite the same as what the Clippers would have. But at the same time, are the Clippers going to be healthy? That's the weird thing about them is I think they're right there at the top of the West. LA is Clipper-wise if they're healthy and if they're playing, but you just don't know exactly who's going to be there and what the health is going to be. And it's a great question on the text line. You wonder how is Oklahoma City viewed by some of these other teams? Is everybody clamoring to kind of, especially those play-in teams where it looks like OKC's got a pretty fair shot to be either the 1 or the 2, which would mean that one of the play-in teams would be the opponent in the first round. Are the Lakers or Warriors kind of searching out that matchup? I mean, I would think just it makes perfect sense when your choices are the defending champs or the young Thunder. You would clearly want to choose Plan B there. But I think that's a great point. We always view it through the lens of the Thunder. What do the other teams around the league? Sure, they're young, they're talented, they've had a really good season, but are those more veteran teams looking at them as the target without that postseason experience? And plus, your other choice is Denver, at least right now in the standings. What if I'd have told you before the season, mentioned those 4 in the play-in, that 2 of Dallas, Phoenix, the Lakers, and the Warriors wouldn't make the playoffs? That would have seemed almost unfathomable back before the season started, but that, at least right now, would be the case. You look at Dallas' schedule, it seems really light down the stretch. They might be the team that's able to pull themselves out of there and into an actual playoff spot. They've got two more games with the Kings. They actually play back-to-back games. It's not on back-to-back nights, but they play back-to-back games in Sacramento coming up next week. That might be the decider, at least for them, the Warriors a couple times. Those games there might tell you, whether or not Dallas is destined to be in the playoffs or Dallas is destined to be in the play-in. They're an interesting team because, once again, all 4 of those in the play-in present what you would think would be really, really tough challenges in a playoff series. LeBron and AD, you got Steph Curry and just the mystique of what the Warriors are and the success that they've had, obviously, over the past almost 10 years now. Dallas with Luka and Kyrie. And then, of course, that 3-headed monster out at Phoenix. Weird enough, it almost seems like Phoenix, even though they've got Durant, who, by the way, passed Shaquille O'Neal last night on the all-time scoring list, up to number 8 all-time is Kevin Durant on the scoring list. But it does seem like a team that has Durant, Beal, and Devin Booker might be the choice. Although the playoffs are so much different. And being able to play those guys and have them healthy. But Phoenix's bench is severely lacking. So it's really interesting. And almost the Thunder will probably be favored in the first round with against anybody but maybe the Lakers. At least from Vegas' standpoint, but maybe not. I mean, even though they've had such a great regular season and they're going to finish near or at the top of the Western Conference standings, I don't think that first round is not a gimme by any stretch of the imagination, with the seasoning and the ability that some of those teams, and even in that play-in, have to create matchup problems for Oklahoma City. I mentioned last night, Chet goes 35-14, 3 blocks. The Chet and Wemby thing is so interesting because Victor Wembanyama is something we've never, ever, ever, ever seen. I mean, the guy can almost stand flat-footed and dunk it. He's just huge out there. And he is going to put up numbers that I don't think Chet's going to be able to put up. I think it's a big reason why when you see this Rookie of the Year vote, the numbers that Wembanyama puts up in a lot more limited time on the floor are probably going to be too hard for the voters to look past. And rightfully so. I mean, he's put up some amazing numbers. But he's put those numbers up for a 15-win team. Now, it's not his fault necessarily of the situation that he got drafted into. But I wonder with these guys and the obvious, rivalry that's starting to build. Oklahoma City and San Antonio have had some classic matchups in the playoffs. If that comes back, if you're a Thunder fan, I think you have to hope that this turns into kind of the same formula that we saw with when Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain would go at it in the finals for LA and Boston. And that is, as Wilt did, let Victor put up the numbers. Let him get all the glory from an individual standpoint, and let Chet's contributions to winning be the difference. I'm not sitting here saying that they're going to, play in the Western Conference Finals 8 of the next 10 years or anything crazy like what happened back then. But I think that's what you're going to have to, as Thunder fans, as Chet fans, what have you, you're just going to have to accept the fact that Victor's numbers are going to be better than Holmgren's. They just are. But at the same time, as Bill Russell was able to do in those classic matchups way back when, he was able to affect winning without necessarily stuffing the stat sheet to the level that Wilt did. I think that's what you've got to. I think that's what you got to kind of hang your hat on. If you're on the Chet side of this, you're on the Thunder side of this. That's coming. It's a blossoming rivalry, and they're gonna play in the playoffs at some point in the very near future because of what Wembanyama is able to do and the talent that he has, and San Antonio, how good of an organization they are. They're not going to be down forever with a player like that. And so I think you just start to accept Victor's numbers as being better than Chet's, and yet hope that at the end of the day, Chet contributes to winning, and that's his calling card, as opposed to just, he can obviously stuff the stat sheet as well, but not maybe to the level of what Wembanyama can do it. Thunder looking good. It's going to be fun. Haven't had a playoff game in Paycom since 2019. Hey, you heard KJ and Jaden there in the break. Today is the day at the Boomtown Grill. It's Thursday, and that means 50-cent boneless chicken wings is the special on a Thursday. I mean, is there anything more American than checking into the Boomtown Grill at that 11:15 tip between Mississippi State and Michigan State, getting you a pile of wings, some iced tea, cold pop, whatever, and just hanging out and watching March Madness? Boomtown is the March Madness headquarters starting today. 50-cent boneless wings. They've got all kinds of different options. Mild chipotle, sriracha, garlic parmesan, mango habanero, hot barbecue, kickin' bourbon, and sweet red chili. if you're one of those people that likes the kind of combination of flavors like I do, the sweet and the spicy, the mango habanero, you cannot go wrong. Delicious. The others are as well. Thursday, 50-cent boneless wings down at Boomtown Grill. Perfect location to check into March Madness, have your lunch, have your dinner. Happy hour 2 to 6, Monday through Friday, 12 big screen TVs, 11 different beers on tap, over 30 bottled and canned beers available, imports and domestics. They've got a large wine selection as well. The Boomtown Grill, 50-cent wing day on a Thursday. Check them out, 2103 South Main in Elk City. You can call to carry it out, 225-3463. Boomtown's open every day of the week, 11 to 10, Sunday through Thursday, 11 to 11 on Friday and Saturday. I cannot think of a better place to go check out March Madness than the Boomtown Grill. Little birdie might have told me that there's a chance that some of the KECO crew might be down there tomorrow afternoon checking out some games and hanging out at the Boomtown Grill. Good stuff. I mean, if you don't like wings, even though it's the wing special, I could not possibly put my stamp of approval. And if you've seen me, you know, I mean, I'm a guy you need to listen to when it comes to food, because I don't get to look this way without liking good food, right? Those nachos, the appetizers, the chicken nachos, are fabulous at the Boomtown Grill. All right, have you finished your bracket? Have you put the finishing touches to your bracket? I decided yesterday, it was about 1:30 or so in the afternoon, where I've been kicking a couple of different options around. I mean, first off, I'm a one bracket guy. Anybody that has multiple brackets, I don't mind being in multiple contests, but use the same bracket. Don't have your upset bracket or your chalk bracket because then all you get to do, if you fill out 15 different variations of brackets, it's just an easy way to try to prove that you're smarter than everybody else when you're not. Just fill out one. Don't fill out multiple. Don't be that guy. Anyway, don't be a multiple bracket guy. Just fill out your bracket. You can play in 100 contests if you want to. Just have the same bracket. Anyhow, there were a few teams. I mentioned it yesterday. But there were a couple teams where I just wasn't sure what to do with. One of those was Kentucky, and the other was Tennessee. They were the two that were kind of stumping me. I could see them going nowhere, and I could see them going a long ways. And I kind of kicked it around. It's weird to look at it. It seems like maybe this happens more frequently than I realize, but ever since I filled it out on Monday morning, I don't know if I've changed a single game on what is the left side. The left side being the East and the West. I don't know if I've changed any games since I originally picked them. But man, the right side, the Midwest, and the South, I have gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, trying to figure. There's just Tennessee and Kentucky are the two teams where I'm just not sure. Exactly, I just wasn't sure where to put them, when to put them out. And so, yesterday about 1:30, I finally decided, okay, it was like being on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, telling Regis, this is my final answer. I'm not changing anything. I'm hitting submit bracket for the last time. And when the dust settled, I don't think anyone's going to have the same Final Four as I do in the Western Oklahoma Realty Bracket Challenge. And it's decently chalky. But, man, I feel fairly confident on the left side of the bracket. I think most people have Connecticut coming out of the East. Illinois, Iowa State could be thorns in their side. Maybe even that Auburn game. I said yesterday, of all the Sweet 16 possibilities, man, UConn-Auburn looks like a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, I do think UConn, even though defending champions have not had much success lately in the tournament, even getting out of the first weekend, I think they're going to do it. I think you're going to see. I think 2018 North Carolina was the last defending champ to get out of to not get knocked out before the Sweet 16, which is crazy to say, but that kind of shows you a parody of college basketball, I suppose. My Final Four, I finally settled on UConn. I haven't seen them play much, but for some reason I really like Arizona. Maybe the path, maybe the fact that getting to the Final Four, being almost a home game out in Phoenix, intrigues me with those possibilities. And so I've kind of stuck with those two, UConn and Arizona, on the left side of the bracket throughout the entire. I've just had those teams penciled in and really kind of I've just had them. I have not wavered from the UConn Arizona picks, and really no games either. Now on the right side in the South, I think, let's see, I've had Houston in the Final Four. I've had Florida in the Final Four. I don't think I ever made Tech all the way to the Final Four, but I got close. But when the dust settled, I just and this may not, heck, they could get beat today. But I just couldn't. I couldn't not pick Kentucky and the talent that they have. I know I heard Mark talking about it yesterday, and I even was poking fun at Coach Hunt the day Kentucky went to Auburn. Auburn was rolling. College Game Day was there. I think Auburn had just put up 100 on Bama like the Tuesday before. I was telling how they were going to run him out of the gym. And Kentucky, when they got serious about controlling the tempo, taking care of the basketball, and playing defense, they just choked the life out of Auburn on their home floor. And so they got pros. Everyone knows they have pros on their team, and probably the most of anybody. The youth is scary, but I just couldn't resist the temptation of the Kentucky Wildcats in the Final Four. And so I settled on that. And then, let's see, I started out in the Midwest. I think at one point I've had Oregon as a Final Four team. I've had Creighton as a Final Four team. I've had Tennessee as a Final Four team. But there's something, and this is probably going to be the pick that completely destroys my bracket. But there's just something, it feels like Purdue is actually going to play well. And I can't believe I just said those words because I've been harping against it the whole time. But the more you start to look at their road, who's going to beat them? It just seems like with Kansas and the McCullough injury, you kind of take them out of the mix, or at least I do. You know, a lot of people like Creighton. Tennessee has the same kind of bugaboo historically that Purdue does as far as not performing well in the tournament. Rick Barnes especially not performing well in the tournament. But at the end of the day, I just don't know who's going to beat them. I just don't know who's going to beat them. And I hate that I picked it. I do not, listen, I can't win the contest anyways, but I do not trust it. But I've got Purdue in the Final Four. UConn, Arizona, Kentucky, and Purdue. Who do you guys got? Who's your Final Four? I'll tell you who I picked in a second. Let's see. Who's the first number 1 seed that goes out? At the first of the week, I probably would have said Purdue. It's crazy as that sounds, but then I think when you start to look at the matchups and the potential games that are ahead for these 1 seeds, I think that there's no doubt, at least in the first weekend. Some people like FAU to give UConn a game. I don't know about that, but I think that the 2 potential matchups that could be trouble for 1 seeds are Houston versus A&M, because of the way they're almost mirror images of each other. And can A&M out Houston as far as being big and being strong and being physical? It's not often you see that happen, but A&M might have the secret sauce. I promise you, Houston fans are rooting for Nebraska tomorrow to win that game. They'd much rather see Nebraska than Texas A&M. And the other, I think, is the potential for Michigan State and North Carolina. As much as Izzo's team struggled and was kind of on the bubble or whatnot, I do think that is a whale of a potential matchup for a second-round game with North Carolina and Michigan State. Utah State or TCU against Purdue, I don't see it. Like I mentioned, FAU or Northwestern, I just don't see it facing UConn. But those other 2, if we get Houston and A&M, or if we get North Carolina and Michigan State, I think you see some fun and games that will challenge those 2 number 1 seeds to make it into the second to the second weekend. I think it could be a lot of fun. So to me, those would be the options, and because it probably just has to do with Izzo and the pedigree, and the fact that maybe North Carolina I don't think is as strong as Houston. I think that could be the one that you potentially see go down here in the first weekend, would be North Carolina as one of the 1 seeds. All right, who you got? What's your bracket look like? Who's your Final 4? I've got UConn, Arizona, Kentucky, and Purdue. And the text line, and probably rightfully so, hammering my Purdue pick. Purdue basketball equals Iowa football. It's probably true. But I'm not changing it. I made my decision. I'm going with it. Hanging out here just, hour and 25 minutes away from the beginning of the first round of March Madness. Mississippi State, Michigan State, Game 1. What's your Final 4? 225-9698 is the text line. What is your Final 4? Who you got? I've got UConn, Arizona, Kentucky, and Purdue. May rain today. Looks cloudy out there. Be a perfect time for you. Let's call Scott Kelly at Superior Lawns. Get some spraying done. Get some fertilizer down, and let the rain make that work. Scott does it all. He's got granular application programs. His spray. He'll also do insecticides that'll discourage the grubs and other insects. We've got applications for fertilizer. Get that deep, dark green that's required to win Yard of the Month, Yard of the Week, Yard of the Year. He's got all kinds of different programs to get your yard on track. Fertilizing, weed control, insect, pest control, all of it. Elk City, Canute, Cheyenne, and Sayre. Scott Kelly at Superior Lawns, 580-799-5670. Talked about what he's done, what he did for a yard in Sayre to be able to completely transform that thing. I can't wait to see, now that we're starting in a lot different position with their yard here in town. I can't wait. He promised me that I had to mow about 3 times a week. And so just watch the pounds melt away in the heat of summer with the application programs of fertilizer with Superior Lawns. 580-799-5670. All right. On the text line, we got some Final Fours rolling in. Now, here's one that's outside the box. I like it because when you're in a contest with as many people as we are on the Western Oklahoma Realty Bracket Challenge, outside the box thinking is a lot of times is the way to win. instead of just picking what everybody else picks. Here's one: UConn, Baylor, Wisconsin, and Gonzaga. I like it. I like it. UConn, Arizona, Houston, and Creighton. I think Creighton's going to be a popular pick. And I'd imagine there's a chance that we see Houston as the most popular winning choice in the Western Oklahoma Really Bracket Challenge. I think that's going to be the case. UConn, Arizona, Marquette, and Creighton. You got that one. Who you got winning? I have a rematch of the 1997 national championship game in my bracket. The Battle of the Wildcats. Arizona and Kentucky is what I have at the end. And I actually have, but I have the reverse. I have a different winner. I can't believe I'm going to be out on the limb with Coach Hunt with the Kentucky Wildcats being the winner of the NCAA tournament. Houston, UConn, North Carolina, Oregon. Houston, Arizona, UConn, and Purdue. Some coming in on the text line. Arizona as a champ. I had that at one point until I changed my mind. Houston, Kentucky, Gonzaga, Creighton, with Houston as a champ. I think Houston's going to be the most popular champ. Once the games go live and everybody can kind of see who picked who, I think they're going to be the most picked champ in the Western Oklahoma Really College Pick'em. You still have hour and 25 minutes. Get your bracket submitted. Go to the Skinny on Sports Facebook page. I've got a link straight to our group. Awesome prize. $500 to win, $200 for second, $100 for third. The one thing that I'm sure of about the text line at 225-9698 is when any type of food is mentioned, it lights up. So I was kind of perusing the internet yesterday, and I saw a story, and I thought, wait a minute. Is this real? Is this really a thing? So I kind of checked into it, and it does look like it's being tested. College Park, Maryland. And it's Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A is basically offering a pizza. I'm thinking, what? Yeah, Chick-fil-A pizza. And basically, when you start looking at what it is, it's kind of like just a Chick-fil-A sandwich, but except for on a pizza crust. And with mozzarella cheese. The Chick-fil-A sauce is the sauce. Pickles, chicken nuggets. I thought, man, that is interesting. A lot of times a lot of these fast food places need to kind of stay in their lane. You know, you do something right. Just keep on doing it right. Don't worry about trying to get in everybody else's lane. Like for, no offense, Arby's, but you're a roast beef shop, not a burger joint. Put the burger away. Just focus on the roast beef. You're outstanding at that. And when I first saw this, I kind of thought the same thing about Chick-fil-A. Like, hey, your chicken sandwiches, man. Your chicken nuggets. What are you doing with a pizza? But when you kind of look at the pictures of this thing, it looks like it might be delicious. It really does. I saw some, you start to see different advertisements. Feels like, we've gone through the fish sandwich. where everybody wanted to have one of those. We've gone through the chicken sandwich phase where everybody's wanting to have a chicken sandwich. Right now, it looks like we might be going through pizza phase. They're trying to incorporate a version of pizza into what a lot of these people do. Very, very interesting. And some of them will be good and some of them won't. I do know what will be good, beyond the shadow of any doubt, is 50-cent boneless wings at Boomtown Grill. Today, perfect spot. I mean, if you have the ability to do it at 11:15, as the ball is thrown in the air, the tip of the tournament is off, having a plate of mango habanero wings at Boomtown would be the perfect spot. Just kind of park it in front of a TV and watch the action. It's every game. You just never know. You just never know when you might see one of those moments that we all remember that just ends up in every highlight video promoting the tournament for years and years and years. It can always happen. It's always a chance for it. Which game are you looking forward to the most today? Or is it just kind of one of those bring them all at me? Just fast and furious action from start to finish. I mean, the last game tip's 9:05, Drake and Washington State. I'm actually, for me, I think the game I'm most interested in, maybe not watching, but seeing the result, is Texas and Colorado State. Colorado State looked good because they played Virginia, or is the Mountain West really a 6-bid league and can do some damage in the tournament against, a Texas team that is absolutely talented, but seemed to never be able to put it together when they weren't playing in Austin. I have my eyes on that one for sure this evening. A lot of people love McNeese. A McNeese Gonzaga game this evening. As far as the early ones, see BYU. I think Oregon and South Carolina can be a good one. Starting to hear Morehead State being talked about as a potential upset of Illinois. Man, Illinois looked fantastic in winning that Big Ten tournament, especially Terrence Shannon, a junior, going for 40 and 34 in the semifinals and then the finals. Could he get that team on a roll and being able to get into the second weekend? That potential for Illinois-Iowa State looks fun. A lot of good stuff. Still time. Western Oklahoma Realty Bracket Challenge. Skinny on Sports Facebook page. I've got the link. Get involved before the games tip off here in an hour 15. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful day. Watch tons of basketball. We'll be back in here in the morning. Talk about what happened. Look ahead to what's going on tomorrow. Also, an interesting story that I need to read more about. But the Shohei Ohtani interpreter thing is really fishy. Have a good one.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.
That ball is blistered to right. Way